I skipped graduation for my disabled brother. Then I found out where my parents really were. On Mother's Day, my 5-year-old asked, "Mom, why don't you have a graduation picture like Grandma?" She was holding a pancake with both hands. Syrup on her fingers. A normal kid question. Then she saw my face change and she got quiet. I didn't snap. I didn't say, "Ask your grandparents." I didn't make her feel like she'd done something wrong. I made one small change. I opened a note on my phone called Timeline, and I typed her question exactly as she said it. Because the truth is, I didn't miss my high school graduation by accident. I missed it because I was parenting, while my parents were somewhere else. My name is Riley. I'm 27 now. I live outside Pittsburgh, in one of those neighborhoods where the air smells like rain half the year, and every family has a "we're fine" face for the grocery store. My daughter is Ren. She's 5. And my brother Jace is 21 now. But back then, when I missed graduation, Jace was 14. Jace has disabilities that require hands-on care. He's bright in his own way, funny, loves sports highlights, loves routine, and he needs help with a lot of daily things that most people never think about. And my parents loved Jace. I want to say that clearly. They loved him. But they also used him. They used him as a reason, as a shield, as a way to make me feel guilty anytime I wanted something. In our family, there was a phrase that sounded noble. Family comes first. What it really meant was, Riley comes last. I was the oldest. The mature one. The one who handled it. By junior year of high school, I could do a full caregiving routine with my eyes half closed. Medication schedule. Meal prep. Transfers. Cleaning. The calm voice when Jace got overwhelmed. And if you're thinking, how did a kid become responsible for that? The answer is simple. Slowly. It happened one "can you just" at a time. Can you just stay home? Your dad's working late. Can you just miss practice? I need help. Can you just skip the dance? Jace is having a rough week. And I did it. Over and over. Because my parents were always tired. And when adults are tired, kids learn to be useful. Senior year, graduation was my one bright point. Not because I thought it would fix my life. Because it was a marker. A moment that said, I did it. I got accepted into a community college program. I had a part-time job at a grocery store. I had plans. My school sent the graduation details 2 weeks before the ceremony. Email subject, graduation schedule plus ticket reminder. I remember reading it at my kitchen table while Jace watched a basketball game at full volume. My mom was on the phone in the next room, laughing in that forced way she used when she needed to sound fine. I printed the email and put it on the fridge. And the next morning, my mom took it off the fridge. Not ripped up. Not thrown away. Just moved. Like my graduation was clutter. I asked her, "Where's the paper?" She said, without looking at me, "I put it in a drawer. We know when it is." We know. Meaning, we'll decide how it goes. The week of graduation, Jace had a rough patch. More fatigue, more anxiety, more help needed. I felt for him. I did. But I also felt the familiar panic. Because in my house, a rough patch always meant my plans were about to disappear. 2 days before graduation, my dad said, "Riley, we might need you to sit out the ceremony." He said it like he was discussing weather. I stared at him. "What?" I said. My dad kept his voice calm. "Your mom and I will go," he said, "but we need someone with Jace." I blinked. "Why can't you arrange respite care?" I asked. My mom cut in fast. "It's not that simple," she said, "and he's anxious. He needs someone he trusts." Someone he trusts. Meaning me. I swallowed. "Jace trusts you," I said. My mom's eyes sharpened. "He trusts you more," she said. "You know how to calm him." And there it was. My competence used like a chain. I looked at my parents and said something I'd never said out loud. "I'm graduating too," I said. My dad sighed. "Of course," he said. "But you don't have to walk. You'll still get the diploma." Walk? Like it was optional. Like it was vanity. I didn't fight right then. Because I'd learned fighting in my family didn't get you what you deserved. It just got you labeled selfish. So I tried a different angle. I texted my aunt, my mom's sister, who sometimes understood. Text, 8:14 p.m. "Any chance you can stay with Jace for graduation so I can walk?" My aunt replied. Text, 8:22 p.m. "Sweetie, I can't. You know I love him, but I'm not comfortable with the routine." Not comfortable. And I get it. Caregiving is real work. But the part that hurt is everyone was allowed to be not comfortable. Except me. That night, I opened Timeline for the first time, without knowing I'd keep using it for years. Timeline. Graduation week, parents suggest I don't walk, aunt declines respite help. The day before graduation, my best friend Kelsey brought over my cap and gown from school. She held it out like it was sacred. "You ready?" she smiled. I smiled back, but my stomach was tight. Kelsey looked around our living room. Jace on the recliner. My mom hovering. My dad pretending to be calm. Kelsey lowered her voice. Are you actually going? She asked. I said, I think so. And I meant it. I still believed I could fight for it. Graduation day, I woke up early, showered, did my hair, and put on the dress I'd bought with my own money. I laid my cap and gown on my bed like a promise. Then my mom walked in and said, Jace threw up. Those words landed like a door slamming. I ran to the bathroom. Jace was pale, embarrassed, and my mom was moving fast. Not to comfort him, to manage the timing. My dad stood in the doorway and said, Okay, plan change. Plan change. In my family that meant, your plan is gone. I looked at my cap and gown on my bed. Then I looked at Jace, who was trying not to cry. And I felt the old guilt rise. Because Jace didn't choose this. He didn't choose to be used as the reason I missed things. But I also knew something else. My parents didn't look panicked like they were calling a doctor. They looked annoyed. Like this was inconvenient, not urgent. Which is why I said, quietly, Is he sick or is he anxious? My mom snapped. Riley, don't start. Don't start. Meaning, don't question the narrative. My dad said, We're leaving in an hour. Your mom and I will go to the ceremony. I stared at him. And I stay, I said. My dad nodded, like it was settled. You're better with him, he said. And in that moment, I didn't cry. I went numb. I picked up my phone and typed one sentence into timeline. Graduation day, 9:12 a.m., parents decided I stay home with Jace. Because some part of me knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of me finally seeing what my parents had been doing. At 10:45 a.m., my mom stood in the hallway with her makeup done, hair curled, and her purse on her shoulder. My dad had his tie on. They looked ready. Not stressed. Not worried. Ready. My mom crouched beside Jace and said, Sweet voice, Baby, we'll be back soon. Then she looked at me and switched voices. Don't let him eat anything heavy, she said. And text me if he throws up again. I nodded. Then she added, like an afterthought, We'll FaceTime you when Riley's name is called. My name. She said it like my graduation was a TV show I could watch later. The front door shut. And it was just me and Jace. Jace looked at me, embarrassed. Did I ruin it? He whispered. My throat tightened. No, I said quickly. No, you didn't ruin anything. That was the truth. Jace didn't ruin it. But my parents had built a system where my life was always the easiest thing to cancel. I got Jace water, settled him on the couch, and turned on a movie. I kept smiling. I kept my voice calm. Because he was 14. He was already carrying enough. Then at 12:03 p.m., my phone buzzed. Text 12:03 p.m. Mom, we're seated. It's crowded. Jace okay? Not, how are you? Not, I'm sorry. Just logistics. I replied. Me 12:04 p.m. He's okay. No more throwing up. My mom sent a thumbs up. A thumbs up. At 12:41 p.m., Kelsey texted me. Text 12:41 p.m. Kelsey. Where are you? They're lining us up. I stared at the text until my eyes blurred. Because there it was. My classmates lining up. My cap and gown on my bed. My parents in the stands without me. I didn't reply right away. I walked to my bedroom and stared at my gown like it was a ghost. Then I wrote a line in timeline. 12:41 p.m., Kelsey texts, Where are you? Then I made the hardest choice. I told the truth. Me 12:44 p.m., I'm home with Jace, I'm not there. Kelsey replied immediately. Kelsey 12:44 p.m. Riley, what? I can come get you. I looked at Jace in the living room. He was half asleep, exhausted. I couldn't leave him alone. And it shouldn't have been my job to decide that. But it was. So I typed. Me 12:45 p.m. I can't. Please take a video if you can. Kelsey replied. Kelsey 12:46 p.m. I'm so sorry. At 1:18 p.m., my mom finally FaceTimed. I answered. The camera was pointed at the stage. I could hear cheering. Then, for a second, the camera flipped and I saw my mom's face. She smiled like everything was normal. Hi, she mouthed. And then the announcer's voice came through. Riley Matthews. My name. My stomach flipped. My mom swung the camera back to the stage. I saw someone walk. Not me. Just the empty space where I should have been. Then the line moved on, and my name became a whisper in a crowd. I ended the call. Not dramatically. Just quietly. Because I couldn't watch my own life happen without me. I walked to the kitchen, put my hands on the counter, and breathed. Then Jace woke up and said, Did they call you? I smiled. Yeah, I said. They called me. Jace swallowed. I'm sorry, he whispered again. I shook my head. You have nothing to be sorry for, I said. And I meant it. But inside, something broke. Because a part of me realized this wasn't a one-time sacrifice. This was a preview. If I didn't change something, my whole adulthood would look like this. Plans canceled. Moments missed. And my parents saying, You're better at it. At 3:02 p.m., my dad texted. Text 3:02 p.m. Dad, we're on our way. Great ceremony. Proud of you. Proud of you. I stared at that line. It felt like being patted on the head after you clean up someone else's mess. Then my mom texted something that made my skin crawl. Text. 3:04 p.m. Mom. Thank you for being mature. Your sister would have made it about herself. My sister. I don't even have another sister. She meant Maddie, my cousin, the dramatic one. But what she really meant was, thank you for being quiet. I replied with one word. 3:05 p.m. Okay, because I wasn't ready to speak yet. I was ready to observe. They got home around 3:30. My mom walked in smiling. My dad held a program from the ceremony. My mom said, "It was beautiful, you would have cried." I stared at her. My dad said, "We got you this." He handed me a bouquet of grocery store flowers. Like flowers could replace a stage. My mom kissed my cheek and said, "We did what we had to do. Had to." I looked at Jace. He was awake now, watching us like he could feel tension. I said, calmly, "Was he actually sick?" My mom's smile froze. My dad's face tightened. My mom said, "Too fast?" "He was anxious, you know that." I nodded slowly. "So he wasn't sick," I said. My mom snapped. "Riley, do you want to fight on your graduation day?" "My graduation day. The one I didn't get." I stayed calm. "I'm not fighting," I said. "I'm asking why you didn't arrange help." My dad sighed. "It's expensive," he said. I nodded. "Then why," I said softly, "did your bank alert show a hotel charge yesterday?" Silence. Because yes, I had bank alerts. We'd had a shared family account for household expenses since I was 17 because my parents insisted it was easier. And the day before graduation, I'd gotten an alert. Bank alert, May 29, 8:19 p.m., Riverside Lodge, $189. At the time, I thought maybe it was a deposit for something boring. Now, watching my parents' faces, I realized it was not boring. My mom's eyes widened. "You're checking our account," she hissed. I kept my voice steady. "It's my account too," I said. "You put my paycheck deposits in there." My dad cleared his throat. "It's nothing," he said. My mom snapped. "It was for your father's work thing." Work thing. And my gut whispered, "No, not with that smile. Not with that timing." So I did the last calm thing I could do in that moment. I looked at my parents and said, "I'm going to need the truth." My mom laughed, sharp. "You're being dramatic," she said. Then my dad said something worse than the lie. He said, "Riley, you're not the only one who sacrifices." I stared at him. Because in that sentence, my dad told me how they justified everything. They weren't grateful. They felt entitled. And that night, after everyone went to bed, I opened my email. And I searched Riverside Lodge. Because if my parents were lying, the receipts would tell the truth. The Riverside Lodge email wasn't hard to find. Because my mom had used the shared account email to book it. Email subject, your weekend confirmation. Vacant. Not one night. Vacant. I clicked it and felt my stomach drop. Check-in Friday. Check-out Sunday. The weekend of my graduation. And it wasn't a work thing. It was a couple's package. 2 adults. Dinner voucher included. My hands shook on the mouse. Not because I was surprised anymore. Because I realized my parents never planned to have me at graduation. They planned to be away. They planned to use Jace's anxiety as the reason. And they planned to tell themselves they deserved it. I took screenshots. I forwarded the email to myself. And I wrote it in timeline. Riverside Lodge weekend confirmation, booked under shared email. Then I sat in the dark at my kitchen table, listening to the house. The soft hum of the fridge. Jace's TV faint through the wall. And I thought, if I confront them, they'll call me selfish. If I don't confront them, they'll do it again. So I did something I'd never done. I called my guidance counselor. The next day, after graduation, because at that point, I didn't need a cap and gown speech. I needed an adult outside my family. Mr. Hendricks answered and sounded surprised. "Riley," he said, "how was graduation?" I swallowed. "I didn't go," I said. Silence. Then he said, gently, "Tell me why." So I told him. In plain language. Caregiving. No respite. Parents asked me to stay. Hotel receipt. Mr. Hendricks went quiet, then said something that changed the direction of my life. "That's called parentification," he said. "And you don't have to accept it as your future." Parentification. A word for what I'd been living. He asked, "Do you have a plan after high school?" I said community college. He said, "Do you have the ability to leave?" Leave. I stared at my bedroom door like it could answer. "I don't know," I whispered. Mr. Hendricks said, "There are resources, not just for you, for Jace too. Your parents have options they're not using." Options. I felt anger rise. Because yes, they had options. They just had me. That night, I confronted my parents, but not like a movie. Not screaming. Not tears. I sat at the kitchen table and placed printed papers in front of them. Riverside Lodge confirmation. Bank alert screenshot. My mom's face went white. My dad stared at the printout like it was a trick. My mom snapped, "Why are you printing our emails?" I kept my voice calm. "Because you lied," I said. My dad tried to keep control. "Riley," he said, "we needed a break." There it was. Not denial. Justification. I nodded slowly. "And I needed graduation," I said. My mom started crying, fast, like her tears could reset the scene. "We do so much," she sobbed. "You have no idea." I stared at her. "I do have an idea," I said. "I did it." Then my dad said the sentence that turned sadness into clarity. "You're older," he said. "This is what family does. This is what family does." He said it like it was a law. I looked at him and asked, "And what does family do for me?" My dad opened his mouth. Nothing came out. My mom wiped her face and tried a new tactic. "Do you want to abandon Jace?" she whispered. I felt my throat tighten, because there it was. The weapon. They used Jace's needs to control me. And the hardest part is, it worked. For years. So I answered carefully. "I'm not abandoning Jace," I said. "I'm refusing to be his third parent." My dad's face hardened. "You think you're better than us," he snapped. I shook my head. "No," I said. "I think you made me grow up too fast." Then Jace rolled into the kitchen in his chair, eyes wide. He said, "Are you fighting because of me?" My chest tightened. I forced my voice gentle. "No," I said. "We're fighting because adults made you the reason." Jace looked confused. My mom jumped up, panicked, and said, "Go back to your room, honey." Jace hesitated. Then he left, shoulders slumped. That moment broke me. Because even if my anger was justified, Jace was still the one absorbing the emotional fallout. So I made another small change. I stopped confronting them in front of him. And I started planning. I got a summer job with more hours. I opened a bank account in my name only. I changed my direct deposit. I didn't announce it. Because I knew my parents. They didn't negotiate. They controlled. Over the next month, I learned how deep the control went. My mom tried to keep my money in the shared account. She texted me. Text, 9:18 p.m. Mom, don't be disrespectful. Your paycheck helps the household. Helps the household. Meaning, funds their hotel weekends. I replied with one line. Me, 9:20 p.m. My paycheck will be going to my future. Then my dad tried a softer approach. He said, "Okay, you can go to college. Just stay living here." Stay living here. So I could keep providing the free labor. I nodded politely. "I'll think about it," I said. But inside, I already knew. I couldn't build a life in a house that only worked when I disappeared. Then, something happened that made it urgent. Kelsey brought me a USB drive. "Here," she said. I recorded the walk. I recorded the whole thing. She handed it to me like it was fragile. I watched the video alone in my room. I saw my class line up. I saw the stage. I heard my name. I saw the empty space. And then I saw something else. The camera panned to the crowd. And I saw my parents. Not crying. Not sad. Smiling. My mom was holding a souvenir cup. A souvenir cup from the Lodge restaurant. I froze the frame and stared. Because in that moment, the lie became visual. They hadn't just needed a break. They were enjoying the fact that the system worked. I added that to timeline too. Graduation video, parents smiling, Lodge cup visible. If you were me, what would you do? Because that night, I decided something that scared me. I decided I was leaving. Not forever from Jace, but from the role my parents had built for me. And I didn't know how yet. But I knew I was done missing my life. Leaving didn't happen with one dramatic suitcase and a slam door. It happened in quiet steps. A bank account. A used car. A friend's couch for a weekend. A deposit on a tiny room in a shared apartment. And the hardest part wasn't money. It was the guilt. Because my parents had trained me to confuse guilt with love. So I did something else that changed everything. I called the County Disability Services office. I didn't even know what to ask. I just said, "My brother needs care, and I'm graduating and my parents rely on me, and it isn't working." The woman on the phone didn't sound shocked. She sounded used to it. She said, "Do your parents have respite hours?" Respite. A word I'd heard but never seen in our house. I said, "I don't know." She said, "If your brother qualifies, he may have services available, but your parents have to engage." Engage. Meaning, do the paperwork, make the calls, accept help. My parents didn't like help. Help meant accountability. So I asked, "What if they don't?" She paused, then said carefully, "Then you set boundaries, and you may need a social worker to help coordinate." Social worker. That word scared me at 19. Not because I was doing something wrong. Because my parents acted like any outside help meant you're betraying the family. But then I remembered. My family had already betrayed me. So I scheduled an appointment. Not for drama. For a plan. The social worker, Miss Keene, met with me at a community center. She asked about Jace's needs, school supports, medical routines, and who did what. I told her the truth. I did a lot. Miss Keene nodded slowly and said, "You are not his parent, and you cannot be the permanent plan." Permanent plan. That phrase hit like a bell. Because that's what my parents were building. A permanent plan out of my youth. Miss Keene said, "We can arrange an assessment and discuss respite options with your parents." I exhaled. Then I said, "They won't like it." Miss Keene smiled softly. "Most people don't like boundaries," she said, "especially when they've benefited from no boundaries." That sentence felt like someone finally speaking my language. So I invited my parents to a meeting. I framed it as support planning for Jace. Not, "You lied." Because I needed them to show up. They did. And they were furious the second they realized it wasn't just support. It was exposure. My mom sat in a plastic chair, arms crossed. My dad looked at the ceiling like this was a waste of time. Miss Keene asked calm questions. Who provides care after school? Who administers medication? Who coordinates appointments? What happens during emergencies? My parents answered vaguely. Family helps. We manage. We do our best. Then Miss Keene turned to me. "And you," she asked, "what do you do?" I answered with facts. Medication at 7 and 7. Transfers. Aftercare. Night monitoring. My mom snapped. "She's exaggerating." Miss Keene didn't argue. She asked, "Can you provide a schedule?" I opened my phone. Timeline wasn't just for betrayal now. It was a log. Dates. Times. Tasks. My dad's face tightened when he saw it. Because logs don't lie. My mom's eyes went wet. Not from guilt. From fear of being seen. Miss Keene offered respite care options. A trained aide a few hours a week. Support for appointments. A plan that didn't rely on me. My mom said, "We don't want strangers." Miss Keene nodded. "I understand," she said. "But you currently rely on your daughter. That is also a person. A personne." That phrase hit like justice. My dad snapped, "So what? She's going to abandon us." Miss Keene stayed calm. "She's going to start her life," she said, "and you're going to build a support plan." Build a support plan. Not, "I'm so sorry." Not, "We lied." Just build. My mom looked at me and whispered, "How could you embarrass us like this?" Embarrass. Not hurt. Not betray. Embarrass. I felt something settle. Because that told me where their priorities were. That night, my parents tried to punish me emotionally. They didn't yell. They froze me out. Silent dinners. Heavy sighs. My mom forgetting to buy things I needed. Then my dad said it directly. "If you leave," he said, "don't come back." I stared at him. "Okay," I said softly. And in that moment, I shocked myself. Because I meant it. 2 weeks later, I packed my things while they were at a church event. Not because I wanted to sneak. Because I wanted to avoid a scene in front of Jace. Kelsey helped. We moved boxes quickly. My hands shook, but my voice stayed calm. I went to Jace's room and sat beside him. He looked at the boxes and said, "Are you leaving?" My throat tightened. "Yes," I whispered. Jace's eyes filled. "Because of me," he said. I shook my head, firm. "No," I said, "because of Mom and Dad." Jace blinked. I took his hand. "I love you," I said. "And I'm not disappearing. I'm changing the plan." Changing the plan. I said it like a promise. Then my phone buzzed. Text, 6:12 p.m. Mom, where are you? Jace needs you. Needs you. Not, are you okay? Needs you. I didn't answer. I left a note on the counter. I'm safe, I'm moving out. I'll call about Jace's schedule. Do not involve him in adult conflict. Then I drove away. And I cried for the first time since graduation. Not loud. Just quiet tears. Because I wasn't only leaving a house. I was leaving a role. And I didn't know yet how my parents would respond. But I had a feeling their next move would be the one that proved everything. My parents responded exactly how people respond when you stop being useful. They got loud. Not physically. Administratively. They started calling my workplace. They left voicemails. Voicemail summary, Mom, Riley is unstable right now. She's overwhelmed. We need her home. Unstable. That word again. The same one families use to dismiss boundaries. I didn't respond emotionally. I responded structurally. I changed my work emergency contact. I told my manager calmly, my parents may call. Please direct them to me by email. Then my dad tried a different approach. He sent a text that looked reasonable. Text, 7:34 a.m., Dad. You can't just leave. Jace misses you. Come by tonight. Come by tonight. Like nothing happened. Like the lodge, email never existed. I replied with a boundary. Me, 7:36 a.m. I will visit Jace Saturday 2-4. I'll bring dinner. We'll stick to a schedule. My dad didn't reply. because he didn't want a schedule. He wanted control. Saturday, I showed up at my parents' house at 2 on the dot. I knocked, even though it used to be my home. My mom opened the door with a stiff smile. Jace was in the living room watching sports, face lighting up when he saw me. "Riley," he said, like he couldn't believe I was real. I hugged him carefully. "I'm here," I whispered. My mom watched like she was counting minutes. My dad sat in his chair and said, "So you can show up for 2 hours now, that's it." I kept my voice calm. "That's what's sustainable," I said. My dad scoffed. "Sustainable," he repeated like it was an insult. Then I noticed something. There was a binder on the coffee table. Not mine. A new one. Respite service paperwork. My mom caught me looking and said, quickly, "We're trying." Trying. It wasn't an apology, but it was movement. Then my mom said something that made my stomach tighten. "You ruined your graduation over nothing," she said. "You could have walked. We could have managed." I stared at her. Because she was rewriting history. Again. So I did the one thing that stops rewriting. I pulled out my phone. Timeline. I didn't read it dramatically. I just said, calmly, "Mom, you booked a weekend lodge package the weekend of my graduation." My mom's face went red. "That was different," she snapped. My dad said, "We needed one weekend." I nodded. "And I needed one day," I said. Silence. Jace looked between us, anxious. So, I softened. "Jace," I said gently, "do you want to show me your new game stats?" He nodded quickly, relieved. We spent an hour talking about his routines, his show, his favorite team. Normal sibling stuff. At 3:48, I stood up. My mom said, "Already?" I nodded. "Yes," I said. "I'm sticking to the schedule." My mom's eyes watered. Not from sadness. From frustration. Because the old system wasn't working anymore. In the driveway, my dad followed me. His voice was low. "You think you're teaching us a lesson," he said. I looked at him. "I'm teaching myself one," I replied. "That my life matters." My dad stared at the ground. Then he said something I didn't expect. "I didn't realize you would actually leave," he admitted. There it was. The truth underneath everything. They thought I'd always stay. They thought love meant permanence in a role. I nodded once. "I didn't realize you would actually book a lodge weekend and still say family comes first to my face," I said. My dad's jaw tightened. He didn't have a defense. Final update, because I know people always wonder, what happened to Jace? Jace got respite support. Not perfect. Not immediate. But it happened. Because once I stopped being the solution, my parents were forced to engage the system they'd avoided. I visited Jace consistently. 2 hours. Then 3. Then dinner sometimes. And the relationship between me and Jace got better, not worse. Because I wasn't resentful in the same way anymore. I wasn't trapped. I was choosing. 2 years later, I graduated from my community college program. Not high school. College. And I walked across that stage. My daughter Ren was a toddler then, sitting on Kelsey's lap, clapping like she understood the world. Jace was there too, with an aide wearing a button-down shirt and smiling so hard his cheeks looked sore. My mom came. My dad came. And they both cried. After, my mom hugged me and whispered, "I'm sorry." I didn't say, "It's fine." Because it wasn't fine. I said, "Thank you for saying that." And that's where we are now. Not a perfect family, but a more honest one. I still don't have a high school graduation photo. But I have something else. I have proof I stopped letting my life be the easiest thing to cancel. And if you're listening, and you're the one who always stays home, always sacrifices, always handles it, I need you to hear this. You can love your sibling, and still refuse to be your parents' plan. Here's what we learned from this story. First, being the responsible one can quietly turn into being the unpaid caretaker. That isn't a personality trait. It's a family pattern. Second, if your family only functions when you sacrifice, you're not being supported. You're being used. Third, receipts matter. Emails, alerts, schedules, and exact quotes protect you when people try to rewrite history. Fourth, you can love a disabled sibling deeply and still set boundaries with parents. Those are not opposites. And finally, when you stop being the default solution, the adults in charge are forced to build a real plan. If you like calm, realistic, long story times with receipts, clear timelines, and real closure, subscribe to the channel. That's what we do here.